Emily Thornberry was shut down in Parliament after claiming that a UK-US trade deal could jeopardise the UK's sovereignty, prompting International Trade Secretary Liz Truss to assure that we will have full freedom. Emily Thornberry's concern over the UK's post-Brexit trade negotiations with the US were dismissed by Liz Truss. The Labour Shadow Minister had pointed to an American deal requirement, which would constrain the UK's ability to negotiate our own trade agreement with China. However, the Secretary of State for International Trade insisted that the UK would be making our own sovereign decisions as a country. She said, "I can assure the Honourable Lady that when we negotiate with the US, we will negotiate in the UK's interest. We will make sure we have full freedom of manoeuvre. We're making our own sovereign decisions as a country. Of course, there's looking at a number of precursor agreements we're looking at in terms of the text we use in those trade negotiations." Ms. Truss continued, "My number one priority is to make sure that we have our own sovereign capability to trade with the rest of the world as we see fit. I think one of the very important benefits of a U.S. trade deal, and the one we're hoping to strike with Japan, is that we do need to be setting standards with fellow free market democracies. We need to make sure we have proper transparency in our operations. We also need proper setting of standards." Talks aimed at striking a post-Brexit deal between the UK and the US started last week after being delayed for weeks because of the coronavirus pandemic. Ms. Thornberry had brought up the US-Mexico-Canada Trade Agreement, USMCA, which the US is said to be using as a template for every other trade agreement they're looking to sign around the world. The Labour MP did not want the government to sign up to a particular section, which she claimed would represent an unacceptable breach of the sovereignty of this Parliament. The UK is currently in an 11-month transition period in which a deal is required to be negotiated by the end of December. The cut-off point for requesting an extension to the transition period is June. Although the UK has ceased to be an EU member, Britain still has to continue to follow its rules and contribute to its budget during the transition. The purpose of the transition period is to give time for the UK and EU to negotiate their future relationship, including a trade deal. Britain's chief negotiator David Frost and EU counterpart Michel Barnier have resumed discussions by video call as they race to strike an agreement before the deadline.